next. Our next guest is very focused on this. Thomas Catenacci is here. He's a reporter for the Washington Free Beacon and joins us on the phone. Hello, Thomas. Good to have you back with us, sir.
Hey, it's great to be here, Vince.
Okay, so California seemed to be caught completely asleep at the switch. That is, the leaders of that community, as this wildfire overtook these huge neighborhoods in Los Angeles. There's no reason for the mayor to be out of the country. It's wildfire season. The Santa Ana winds are whipping up to 100 miles an hour, exactly the conditions that would lead to a fire like this. How badly did they screw this up, Thomas?
Yeah, well, I think, just on the response part, I want to just reference a colleague's reporting of mine at the Free Beacon, which is fantastic. On, 2 months ago, the LA Fire Department issued a memo to the mayor's office begging for more resources. They said they were about half-staffed, just not big enough of a budget, and really warning that something like this could happen and that they would be completely unprepared for it. And then that memo, instead of publicly addressing the memo and why there were these staffing issues, Karen Bass, the LA mayor, deleted the memo over the last 48 hours to just it almost looks like a cover-up.
Deleted it.
So I would say that.
I'm sorry, deleted it from where? The internet? Is that she deleted a public record? Is that what happened?
Yeah, she deleted it. It was publicly linked through the LA mayor's office website, and they just scrubbed it. Now, if you go to the link, it shows up as a 404 error. So I wanted to just kind of start at the top with that because it really kind of sets the stage for how government leaders in California are handling this. And now what my reporting has kind of focused on is the environmental permitting aspect to this. Everyone knows what the issue is in California. The conditions are such that these types of fires can happen and they can get quite out of control. So the question is, what do we do about that? There are two really different types of treatments, forest management treatments, one of which is mechanical, using heavy equipment to thin trees in areas where there's a lot of brush, what they call fuel for these types of fires. And then there's prescribed burns, which involve, a government agency or even sometimes, a fire department or, a local group going in and burning a controlled area to get rid of brush that's very flammable in a wildfire situation. And the problem is a lot of this is on state and federal land. And whenever there's a project on state and federal land, it falls under environmental protection laws, which take years and years of permitting and environmental analyses to do before you can actually go through with whatever project it is. And it applies for these forest management projects. And what we've seen is while government leaders and local leaders say they know what the solution is, and we all know what the solution is, these laws are being weaponized by environmentalists and activists within the government to prevent the exact treatments that everyone, again, says that we need.
And California is exceptionally annoying about its so-called environmental laws to the point that it makes it almost impossible to get a structure built in that state, right?
Oh, yeah. And it really falls under the California Environmental Quality Act, which is sort of the marquee law in California that blocks just about every project on state land. And it's a huge issue. And there was a state commission I was reporting over the weekend on this report that a state independent commission put out saying that this just needs to wholesale be reformed. There's a lot of issues beyond just forest management, other types of infrastructure projects that are being blocked by this law. And it's not that the law was designed poorly, it's that environmentalists and environmental groups are weaponizing it to prevent just about any project because, they come from a more preservationist perspective rather than conservation. Conservation is tending to the land, right? Like our ancestors knew this, but in today's modern world, it's preservation. And that is just don't touch wildlife. even in the case of with forest management, we know that we have to touch it. We have to treat it to prevent it from getting out of control and destroying huge swaths of land like we're seeing in California right now in the LA area.
Gavin Newsom is the greasy governor of California, and he claimed this weekend that he's been talking to the governor of Hawaii. They dealt with their own catastrophic fire. And he said that he's working to learn some of the lessons from Hawaii.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
So he says he's going to impose restrictions on who can buy any of the relevant properties. Also, I saw over the weekend that he apparently signed some sort of executive order. It's 3 pages long that is designed to, in the New York Times' headline, it's designed to suspend state environmental rules for rebuilding after fires. Now, do you believe this, Thomas Catenacci, that Gavin Newsom is actually going to get the environmental goons out of the way of rebuilding, or is this just for show?
Well, absolutely not. But I personally find it hilarious that he can just come out of the blue, sign this, and acknowledge indirectly that there were impediments to common sense policy when it comes to forest management. That's a major issue that needs to be addressed in California. And I hope voters are kind of getting some sense of what's going on here. The fact that the government knows that there's an issue, and it only takes this massive disaster for them to finally say, okay, fine, we'll fix the issue quickly, or try to fix the issue quickly. Why wasn't this happening months and months ago? Again, wildfires aren't anything new to California. And
also, if
Gavin Newsom has tried to fix this issue allegedly. He's talked about it a lot. But when it comes to the actual wildfire, it takes after this disaster for him to do anything.
Also, if it's as easy as the governor's signature to clear the way for the betterment of the lives of the people that he represents, why isn't he doing this all the time? Why isn't he getting this law out of the way of all the misery? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't California complain almost every single day about a so-called housing shortage in their state?
Yeah, and one of the issues, again, to go back to the environmental permitting law, CEQA in California, one of the problems with housing is that law, because anytime a housing project or a housing development is proposed on state land or adjacent to state land, it has to go through this years-long, burdensome permitting process that inevitably will involve environmental groups, will involve NIMBYs, not in my backyard activists, people who just oppose every development, every piece of infrastructure. And so that's the issue, is getting to the root of the problem. What is causing all these delays?
And if you think about it for 2 seconds, you realize some of the corrupt market forces that are at work here, because in the end, this doesn't necessarily protect the environment, but it does skyrocket the value of rich people who already own homes in California. If you can't get new construction underway because it's cost prohibitive, that means the filthy rich people who already live in this state are watching their property values go up because the government is interfering in the building of new homes.
Right, and it's such a good point. The commission that I referenced earlier, the Independent State Commission that did this whole analysis on CEQA and how it's blocking all sorts of different development projects, they mentioned in that report that they found a lot of the litigation related to environmental permitting is by these sort of like business groups and people with a financial interest, not just environmental activists, although they're very engaged on this issue, obviously. But a lot of business interests get involved because they know that they can, inflate the price of their goods or their property by blocking development near their property.
And they can block.
So it's all, all under the guise of environmentalism, they're weaponizing this law for their own good. And
It's
that's kind of
it's
the bottom line
incumbency
here.
protection. It's the same way with regulations out of Washington too. It's designed to protect the big players and prevent small upstarts from taking any market share. And then they tell you it's for your own good. That's why it's happening. It's a totally corrupt world. I'm so glad that you're out there digging into it. Thomas Catenacci from the excellent Washington Free Beacon. It's great to talk to you today, sir.